I'm going to step back here because I feel, okay. Good morning, this new setup is throwing me off too. I know it threw all of you off as well. We think does everybody like the setup? Mixing it up a little bit? Good. I know we did that last year when we were having the play in here and we threw everybody off too, so. Well, good morning. My name's Vicki Wilkins and this is Mimi Johnston and we're so happy you are here today. Today, Life It to You is excited to present National Machinery, 150 years with ups and downs on the world stage. Before we begin, as always, we like to thank our generous sponsors who make this series possible. Our presenting sponsor, Mr. Andrew Kalnow. Gold sponsor, Seneca. Yeah, we can give him a round of applause. He's here today. He's never in the room, so we're happy to have him. Our gold sponsors, the Seneca Regional Chamber of Commerce, Destination Seneca County, and Klaus Construction. Our silver sponsors, Mercy Health Tiffin and Dr. Robert Dornauer, DDS. Friends of Life It to You, Allen Erie Center, AVI Food Systems, Brenda Collins, Edward Jones, Elaine Daughtry, Chris Lee, Hannah Luring, and Rachel Tate. The Rotary Club of Tiffin Foundation, the law firm of Lang, Gordon, Rannigan, and Klaus, and Tiffin Women in Action. We'd also like to thank our tech team in the back. JD's running solo today, so thank you, JD, for everything you do, as well as Mike, who took a golf cart ride today. It was freezing. Yeah, it was really cold. So thank you to Mike for always getting those that need a little extra help to get into the building. I would now like to welcome Tiffin University President, Dr. Lillian Schumacher, to say a few words.
Thank you, Vicki. Let's give Vicki and Mimi a round of applause for this wonderful, wonderful program. Well, good morning, everyone. I have the distinct pleasure of introducing today's speaker, and I am so honored to do so. So today's session is entitled National Machinery, 150 Years with Ups and Downs on the World Stage. Our speaker, Andrew Kalnow, the president and CEO and majority owner of National's parent company, NM Group Global LLC, as well as its original and largest subsidiary, National Machinery. Mr. Kalnow is a native of Tiffin who returned in 2002 to try to save National Machinery after its doors were shut the first business day after Christmas of 2001. The business, already stressed at the time by declining orders and too much debt, took a steeper downturn following the September 11th attack on the World Trade Center. Having spent 25 years in banking and venture capital in Chicago, Andrew applied his financial acumen to save National and then put a solid new foundation under the company, both financially and strategically. This year, National has been celebrating its 150th anniversary celebration. Last year at Life It to You, Kalnow gave a presentation on Frost Village, its historical preservation and neighborhood redevelopment project in the old Fort Ball area of Tiffin. This consists of various pre-1900 homes, carefully redeveloped as rental properties, 3 Airbnbs, and the Deli Cafe. He also developed the amphitheater at the East Green and National Corner, for which he received a Heritage Ohio 2020 award. And more recently, in fact, just a few weeks ago, Kalnow received the prestigious Chamber of Commerce Award for the Citizen of the Year. It is my distinct honor to have Andrew so committed to this program and to be able to hear him speak today. Please join me in giving him a very warm welcome to Tiffin University and this week's Life It to You program.
Thank you, Lillian. It's a pleasure to be back. Some of you perhaps were here last year about this time when I talked about the Frost Village project, and I think everybody liked that. And there's been more progress since then. You can't help but notice the little white house on Frost Parkway with the Corinthian pillars on the front porch. It's like a little bit more than a cabin and a cottage, but it's charming. And you may or may not remember what it was as recently as 2 years ago. Anybody want to describe what it looked like? It looked like garbage. Oh, God, did I use that word? It was run down. And inside of it, the last inhabitants didn't clean anything out, and it was literally garbage. So that's been a real progress in the works. And it is almost finished, by the way. So you could see that on the outside. Inside, it's pretty nice. And we started to do a little bit of landscaping. So enough of Frost Village. The subject here is National Machinery, near and dear to my heart, and a number of you, I could see a few alumni of National here, and that's great. That's great. I cheat a little bit. I like to talk, but not too much. I'm a very visual person, and just like last year with Frost Village, it's captured images of what we've been doing, and an interesting starting image with a drone shot overhead. We're going to start with the video that we produced internally, for the most part, and the producer of that I'm going to have stand up and take a bow here in a second. The anniversary video of our 150 years, which really is a pretty long time by most of our standards. Some of us are getting older, not me, of course, but I don't think I'm going to last 150 years. Maybe Larry Baker is. He is. He's the healthiest guy that I know, and he's going to be one of the panelists along with John Boldy, by the way, when we break into a panel. But we're going to start with this anniversary video, which obviously is, a little bit of, apple pie and motherhood and, all things good. And however, I thought it would be interesting for the rest of the theme, I don't know whether we have it up here, the ups and downs of National on the world stage. So first of all, it's, National Machinery is a very international company, and that's sort of a, irony. We're national but international. And, the span of 150 years is long enough for something good to happen, and some things that were real challenges and, bad, or let's say crises, across the world. And we'll talk a little bit about those. Actually, that's sort of what the second part is all about. And the panel and another shorter video that we produced 10 years after the sort of so-called NUCO, when National was reopened after a brief shuttering in, again, Lillian mentioned it, the day after Christmas, the business day after Christmas, 2001. And we were shuttered for about 2 months. And then that's all. Okay. You promise not to fall asleep? Oh, yeah. Okay. So, JD, do I have the right? JD, let's rock and roll with it's about 28, 30 minutes of video, and I am going to sit back over here so I can see it also.
Welcome to the history of National Machinery. In this documentary, we will embark on a journey through time to uncover the remarkable true story of how one company revolutionized the world of manufacturing and cold forming.
National, 150 years. A lot has happened, a lot of major accomplishments, and, also some ups and downs as everybody experiences in business over a period of time.
I started at National Machinery in 1971. In fact, I had the pleasure of being here for the 100th anniversary. Seems like it was just yesterday.
I was very happy to come to work every day and figure out what was going to happen and what kind of things we were going to work on and what kind of projects were coming up.
There's something new every day. Everything is always exciting.
Commitment to delivering quality and providing world-class support is part of our mission, and in my opinion, this is where National shines the brightest.
Yeah, I retired in 1991, but I still consider it home.
Thousands of people have been impacted in positive ways across Tiffin and Seneca County by the efforts of whether it was working at National Machinery, the philanthropic side of things. Really one of the top-notch companies in the city of Tiffin since it came to Tiffin, Ohio many years ago.
Our story begins in 1874 amidst the backdrop of America's Industrial Revolution. It was a time of innovation and progress. And in the middle of it all, a small company emerged with a big vision. Led by visionary entrepreneur William R. Anderson and a workforce of 10, National Machinery quickly gained a reputation for excellence in manufacturing.
National actually was started in Cleveland, and on the urging and maneuvering of my great-grandfather, Meshach Frost, he was able to talk Mr. Anderson, the owner and chairman of National at that time, to move to Tiffin with all the advantages it had.
Its success in Tiffin was due in part to the railroad industry that came through Tiffin.
As the automotive industry grew in the early 1900s, National was well located close to Detroit, but also well suited to meet the demands of rising automakers.
The automotive industry needed standard fasteners, bolts, and nuts, very simple parts, in order to assemble automobiles on a production line. And National's product line expanded from very small machines to very large hot forging equipment to meet the needs of the auto industry.
In 1889, the New York Daily published this brief statement about the National Machinery Company. This is a mammoth concern. Occupying a building 300 feet by 100 feet, they are equal to an annual output of $150,000 and enjoy the unique distinction of being the only establishment in the world capable of equipping a bolt and nut factory with machinery. They have correspondents and make sales all over the world.
Meshach was, the leader, but he turned over the reins to my grandfather, Earl Frost, pretty early on, and Earl went on to run the company for a mere 50 years.
Throughout the years, National continued to innovate and evolve, introducing groundbreaking new technologies that transformed the manufacturing industry. From the development of the nail machine to the introduction of the maxi press, National set new standards for excellence with precision engineering.
June the 6th, 1949 is when I started, and I went on to work on so many different projects. Inch and a quarter bolt maker, 757 station cold formers, 89 2-die 3-blow, 3/16 high speed cold header, and on that I've got so many I don't know how many I really had.
We expanded in many different ways, but one of them was here in Tiffin, where we added a heavy assembly bay, what we call today the 200-ton bay, and a large storage facility or a warehouse facility right adjacent to that.
In all of the years that Dad and I both worked here, we only ever worked on one project together. We did the design of the 226 shell former. Dad was in charge of doing all of the machine work and design work, and I was part of the project to make sure that all of the tooling areas were compatible with the existing machines so that customers could take their tooling and move it from an old machine into the 226 shell former. So that was a really interesting project for both of us to work on. That was the only one we ever got to work on together.
National introduced Formax in November 1989 in Atlanta, Georgia at the International Fastener Exposition. National introduced to record crowds a new concept in cold forming machinery. The Formax line of cold formers met the needs of the fastener and cold form parts industries and was quickly embraced by many of their early customers.
Another perfect job.
The early success of Formax exceeded expectations, providing customers a very simple and easy-to-operate system that drastically increased production through higher machine speeds and more rapid job changeovers. This new approach to cold form machinery was quickly accepted worldwide.
National is a worldwide technology leader in cold forming. And the worldwide technology leader does not just mean the equipment that we produce, but it's also the processes that are developed here that are used on those machines by our customers to produce highly precise parts. Reliability is extremely important, and that's what makes our customers successful.
With the success of Formax, National built a tooling development group known as METMAX. This team is able to utilize their knowledge of cold forming to create production-worthy processes for their customers.
When you could go through there and take something that had never been cold formed before, figure out a method to do it, and get the customer excited about the fact that, hey, now I can do something like this, that was really a rewarding experience to be able to do that.
In 2014, National Machinery introduced the Formax XXV model, a new 25mm cutoff machine, combining the best features from small and large Formax with all new technology, including servo-controlled adjustments. 2 years later, the XXV would be engineered to another level.
One of the most interesting projects I've worked on was the design of our XXV machine, in which we integrated a robot to do tool changes. We have a soft discharge arrangement and a number of patents on that machine.
I worked on 2 FXP8 builds, and those are pretty challenging builds. They're a lot more involved than the smaller Formax, so I thought that those builds were very rewarding and challenging.
National has always worked to be on the forefront of technology. Not afraid to embrace new ideas, they were an early adopter of computers, with their first arriving in 1966.
Yeah, one of the biggest changes that has impacted National, like any other company in the world during my work career, has been technology. The development of the computer.
When I first started, everything was on a mainframe. And going to a Windows system, I think, was very dramatically different for everyone. With email, you didn't have email, like you just responded every day. It just was very different.
The computer integration into manufacturing, which is my background, and the computer integration into our machines that we produce today that make them more precise, more automatic, more controllable.
With a strong backbone of engineering, National continues to push into utilizing new technologies such as robotics and Industry 4.0. As National has grown in their use of technology, they have also expanded with their global footprint, with offices in Germany, Japan, and China. National's presence in Europe has a long history, starting with the purchase of J.G. Kaiser in Germany back in 1958. This company, located in Nuremberg, was already 103 years old and the largest manufacturer of cold forming machinery outside the United States. National has remained in Nuremberg ever since and moved into a brand new facility with service and rebuild support in 2012 and remains the hub for their European sales and customer support operations.
Throughout my career, I had the pleasure to work with a diverse range of customer contacts, from operators on the shop floor to engineers, CEOs, and company owners. Each interaction has reinforced our commitment to being a customer-centric company that values long-term growth and technical leadership. Our global presence and continuous strive for innovation ensures that we remain at the forefront of metal forming technology.
National has been involved in the Japan market with a presence since 1973, initially as Jan-Am, which included assembly of about 200 small ball headers for the bearing market for over a decade.
National Machinery Asia, shortened to NMA, was established in 1990 and started as a joint venture company between National Machinery and Japanese machining company Matsuura.
NMA became fully independent in 2003. The main office is now located in Nagoya, with a rebuilt service building in Komaki.
When NMA was established, we had only 5 employees, but now we have 20 employees. This indicates that the business in Japan has grown successfully since 1990.
NMA serves an important link to the Japan automotive industry and their global supply base. As the Asia region grew, they opened National Machinery Group Technologies, NMGT, in 2007 in Suzhou, China.
We are the manufacturing base for Puma and Lean FX, and with the latest introduction of Lean Header and Shredder. We are here to service our customer in China and also various parts of Asia.
Initially planned as a customer support function, the plant expanded to produce lean formats and also shares the facility with their sister company, CTG Ranselhoff, which makes cleaning equipment.
We are closely connected, not only with our headquarters in Tiffin, but also with each location.
As with many of their foreign offices, National has expatriates from Tiffin on long-term assignment, working with local colleagues.
Our commitment to service our customer well by providing world-class products and quality services are what I enjoy working for.
Despite its successes, National also faced its share of challenges along the way. Economic downturns, changes in consumer demands, and advancements in technology posed significant hurdles for the company.
In the early 70s, we had an order backlog that was 3.5 years long, which meant that we were extremely busy and working a lot of hours. And from that type of an environment, at some point you go into a recession. And now all of a sudden you have not enough orders and too many people, which is equally as challenging.
So I still remember when I was in high school, I was an avid reader of the local newspaper and seeing the front page articles with prayer circles being held around Christmas time here at National when National Machinery had unfortunately closed down. And thankfully we had an individual, Andrew Kalnow, obviously with immense ties to this business, really come in and save the company.
I previously worked in finance and venture capital, and if nothing else, I sort of knew how to do a financial transaction. And long and short, within 2 months, I put together a group to buy back National, and that's what we did.
The things that keep you up at night, of course, are if your large employers ever close, and that was a rough period in Tiffin.
And I can tell you, National always comes through and comes out stronger. And with some further changes on our global footprint, lots of product development, and build up even more our commitment and our efforts in the aftermarket area, which is customer service and support. Very, very important.
Today we have several different businesses that are divergent from the core business, National Machinery, which means that they don't necessarily track the same economic downturns as National does. In addition to that, National is no longer just a new machine builder. The rebuild business here has been built to be very strong also, and the aftermarket parts business is almost as large as the new machine business. So a lot has been done since 2001 to help National be more stable and to level out the ups and downs.
Over the last 3 years with COVID, the supply chain process has been a challenge, to say the least. We've had to try to look for alternatives in order to ship machines. Our machine builds are very complex, and the delay of one part could affect the ship date of a machine.
We've had a lot of employees who retired, and losing this 40, 50 years of experience has been very, very challenging for us. But we did our best to stay ahead of it, hired a lot of new talent. So we did our best to not replace, but do the best we could to keep moving along.
As National overcame these obstacles, quality has always been on the forefront of their mind in order to provide the best possible product and service.
The quality standard that National has set almost 150 years ago still continues to this day, and being a part of that quality tradition is something that I'm really proud of.
And my contributions to what helped make the company what it is today, I was very happy to do that.
Our ability to provide support in a quick manner and do the job correctly is something that I've done on a number of different times. all over the world. I've traveled all the way through, the United States, Canada, Mexico, most of the countries in Europe, China, and Japan.
Today, National Machinery's impact extends far beyond its headquarters. With a global presence and a commitment to excellence, the company continues to shape the future of manufacturing around the world.
It's sort of a funny misnomer. National is really international, but we're not going to change the name. National is very much a trademark. Everybody knows National. The global footprint, however, is very important. We are the leader, really, in that.
We now have facilities on 3 continents and sales and service support in 14 countries.
I was afforded the opportunity to perform service in both Germany and France, and working with our colleagues from NME and our customers from Europe was really rewarding for me.
In my position, I worked with all of our salespeople, not only in Tiffin, but all over the world, and it was really just a lot of fun to be able to do that. Wasn't always easy. Things didn't always go exactly the way they were supposed to go, but in the end, we usually figured out a way to make everything work. So I think most customers were pretty happy with what we ended up doing.
I have enjoyed the international travels and getting to know customers worldwide. I very much believe in customer contact at my level.
We probably have 75 to 100 hourly technicians that travel the world in support of our equipment, that visit customers all over the world, and maintain relationships with those customers that they maintain even after they retire. And I have done that, and they turn into long-term friendships.
Even though I've been gone for a few years out of the company, still try to stay in touch, especially with a lot of our district managers overseas and so on.
And I think some people think of National as a family company because I've been back, here in the saddle for 22 odd years, and I have family on the board of directors and the next generation on a advisory board, so they get to learn about the company. But really, National is a family company all the way through.
My father was one of the original employees of the company in 1973, and my son Calvin is now service technician. We all have a common interest in technology of cold forming and enjoy the long history of working with our colleagues in Tiffin.
In a relatively small town, Tiffin, it's amazing how many families will have multiple people working at National at a given time or over the years.
My grandfather, Dad's father, worked here. Both of my brothers, actually my daughter worked here part-time during the summer when she was going to college. So it really was a family affair, and it always has been.
I've had so many of my relatives, close friends growing up, their parents working here. So when you talk about a company that has truly impacted all segments of the community, National Machinery has done that. And that still holds true today. National Machinery is one of the largest employers in the entire county.
Ever since I was a little kid, I remember the name National Machinery, and National Machinery was the place to work. It was, you wanted to be on the National Machinery's baseball team. I mean, it's always been just a cornerstone of Tiffin, and I don't think that has changed.
And to be celebrating such a milestone like they are this year, that speaks volumes to the management, the leadership, and especially the generation upon generation of family that have called National Machinery home.
And it's a pleasure to see that, but it's also, I think, the fabric that gives us strength and consistency, dedication, and quality. There's pride in everybody's work.
This has always been the place of training, innovation, to be treated well, and to have a good start in life, and that's where I wanted to go.
But family extends far beyond that, because even employees, fellow associates that are not family members, feel like family members. I mean, this is a company where you truly feel like it's a second family, and that's one reason that I've stuck around for as long as I have.
Also, being able to trust the people that you work with, if you do have to leave on a service call, you can hand a project to someone and know that it's going to get completed in a good way.
When I originally started at National Machinery, I thought I'll be here for 5 years and I'm going to leave. And then, you know, with getting married and raising a family, Tiffin's just a very good place to raise a family, and National Machinery is and was very family-oriented, so it was just a good place, I think, to stay.
With many employees staying for years, National created a quarter-century club, honoring those that had worked 25 years at National. In the initial year of 1936, 43 charter members were honored. To date, there have been over 900 members inducted, including more than a handful who have achieved 50 years of service.
I mean, being part of the Quarter Century Club really was a big deal for me to go in. I mean, Dad had been in the Quarter Century Club, and in today's world, there's just not a lot of people who can say that they've worked for 25 years for the same company and be recognized for that accomplishment. I think that's really a pretty neat thing. So
I think National Machinery has been very strong with their support to the community.
It is a benefactor to the community in many ways, directly via our employees that serve the community in their own ways. But National also has a foundation, the National Machinery Foundation.
In December 1948, the National Machinery Foundation was formed with an initial deposit of $200,000 from the National Machinery Company. The purpose was, and still is, to aid and assist needy individuals, charitable organizations, and educational institutions in Tiffin and Seneca County. By 1956, the foundation had grown to $2 million in funds and is over $15 million today.
The National Foundation has been instrumental any time that my administration had gone to them over the years seeking assistance for projects throughout the Tiffin community. They've been very supportive of things such as trails, parks. It's just anything that really helps people, helps folks get out and do things. The National Foundation has stepped up time and time again.
In addition, we were very much part, me personally and the company, in a significant redevelopment project right in the heart of downtown, where an amphitheater has been built along with a splash pad and gardens called National Corner.
When you look at a transformational project, that was one of them. Really just incredible what that amphitheater and the splash pad have done for the Tiffin community.
It's been a difference maker, and a lot of other people in the last decade have jumped on board in terms of this sort of revitalization and rebuilding of this historical downtown.
As we reflect on the remarkable history of National Machinery, one thing becomes clear. Its legacy of innovation, resilience, and excellence continue to inspire generations to come.
As we celebrate our 150th anniversary, I am proud of how far we have come and excited for the future.
When I was 11 years old, I had an opportunity to see the machine manufactured by National. I still remember the name of the machine. It was M24 bolt maker. My first impression to M24 bolt maker was, what a huge machine. I want to be a supporter for this machine in the future. So I'm a big fan of National for more than 40 years, and I can say now that my dream came true.
We work with just so many talented people, from engineering to fabrication. The things that they do in machining are amazing. It's just day after day, always something impressive.
When I first started at National, I didn't really realize what this company did or what its place was in this industry. And now that I've been here for 12 years, it's really impressive when you travel the world and walk into a customer's factory and you're shown a level of respect just because of the logo on your shirt. That ties back to that 150 years of cold-heading excellence that National Machinery has curated.
But yeah, like I say, for the company to be around for 150 years, it's really rewarding to be part of that and to know that you had some small part in being able to keep the company going and allowing the people that are still working here to have a job. And if it works out that we can sell machines because of that, then that's That's really great.
National has certainly been a driving force through my life and still is. It has been, as I said earlier, my second family. Work is about enjoying what you do, and it's very easy to enjoy what you do at National Machinery.
Without their dedicated employees, community support, and loyal customer base, National Machinery would not be where it is today. Thank you for joining us on this journey through time. Here's to the next chapter in innovation and progress.
Applause. This was produced mostly internally, but with some professional help by what's their name? The two Munchkins. Yeah, but they go by the company name is Dead Shark Productions, and the producer, the internal producer and general producer, needs to take a stand and a bow. Jacob Lucius, please stand up. Yep. I never knew that Jacob had this incredible cinematic narrator voice, but he does. And by the way, the family nature of National, your father worked at National he was a 25th century member, right? And did you have family other than that also?
Yeah, my grandfather, both grandfathers, my dad, my sister, my uncle.
Oh, well, what the heck, So you better keep that trend going. Luke Halfley was a supporting member of, Luke, stand up, take a bow. You were newer to National, yep. And then there's Brock Riggs, and he didn't do a damn thing. But he's a cheerleader, right? So I think that was a pretty neat production. Yeah, it's, is it too long? Is it too schmaltzy? Is it whatever? But, hey, that's us that have pride in Tiffin and certainly in our company worldwide. And I think that gave a great representation. There is more to hear, and it's not like one person cautioned me, now don't get too much into the difficult years and all that. I don't know whether that person is here that told me that because he's a member. Where's Larry Wilson? Is he in the crowd or did he not come? Okay. But, every company over 150 years has got to have some ups and downs. It's a question of how dramatic and does it, are you swept away in a tidal wave, which, can happen, or can you, ride a tidal wave? And we've done a little bit of both over our history, and that's what we're going to talk about next in showing a little bit of a PowerPoint, and then if these two gentlemen will come up and sit, these are panelists that they were contemporaries during this time. Larry Baker, John Boldy. John Boldy is very famous. He was the star of the film, as you know. And don't sit on the microphone, just pick it up in your hand. Okay. Oh, is that too big a step? Do you need another? Okay. Oh boy, you're getting old. Here, you know what? You can come back over here and go up and down. No, okay. You're sure? You're sure? Okay. Larry is and has been our director, president, everything at National Machinery Foundation since he retired from the company, which was 2004? Two. Yeah, he said, boy, I got to get, we're back on the right rails and time to leave, right? Yeah. But I said, Larry, don't go too far because we need you to. Don Biro had that duty for a number of decades. You may remember the Biro family, and Don Biro and Larry has picked up the torch, and he's going to finish off with, talking about the foundation and some of the projects that it's been active in. In between, we will do look at a couple of ups and downs. And JD, wake up. Ready to roll with, but let's see. You need a signal from me to, or no, I have the clicker. I can control things. I'm not subject to JD. Okay. This will be interesting. No, stop. I know you're a take charge person, but you don't have to do that. I am capable, we think. So I had a lot of fun researching the historical background of what you're going to see now with the ups and downs of our experience in Nuremberg, Germany, and Europe after World War II. You may not be able to read that. That's a little bit light, but there was a big war. And I think we are accustomed in today's world to having war somewhere and everywhere, but Europe was absolutely decimated. And here are the Soviets celebrating on the Reichstag in Berlin. And wow, this is a world, this is like taking the flag on Iwo Jima. I mean, this is just as famous, this picture. And this happened on May 1st, 1945. The picture wasn't published until 10 days later, and then hit all the, the news networks and all that. But, I think it sort of symbolizes the end of the war, the destruction of the war, and, as noted here, the new threat, at least to the Western world, of Soviet communism and aggression. So I sort of start with that flag. And then what did it mean to National? Well, we got a few more slides to go through. I don't know that there was a city other than a small town. God, why am I forgetting this? The name of the walled town south of Nuremberg. Rothenburg. Who said that? Karen Brown. Yeah, very good. And there was a little story there. I don't have the details, but it was spared because I think a colonel in the Air Force knew Rothenburg from pre-war days, and there's nothing industrial, there's nothing military there. It's just a beautiful walled town, medieval walled town, and that was spared. But name a larger city that didn't get bombed. I don't know that there were any. And here is a famous picture because, and be quiet, Karen Brown, be quiet, where's Frau Mayberger? What city are we looking at right now in rubble? Anybody? There's a hint. because you see that dome in the background and like, how the heck, what is it and how does that stand? Well, that's the Frauenkirche in Dresden, which symbolized both the destruction and ultimately the rebirth in Germany over the years after World War II, because the Germans were committed to taking that rubble, the original stone, and rebuilding the church. And that took, I don't know, 40 years or something of the sort. And it only happened after the fall of the Berlin Wall and the East, combining with the West. But Germany and other cities, Russian cities, particularly Stalingrad, were in absolute rubble. I think that this is how Germany was going to rebuild and Europe was going to rebuild, including in London, in the UK, which had some pretty good destruction, stone by stone. And Karen Brown, what are these women called? Yeah, Trümmerfrauen, rubble women, because they were in charge of picking up the rubble. Where are the men, Karen, in this picture?
They did the same thing.
Yeah, but there weren't many. They're either dead, hiding.
My father did.
Yeah, okay. Well,
He cleaned bricks and built another house.
congratulations to him. Yeah. But, I mean, I remember in my summer work in Nuremberg in 1972, which is well past the end of the year, or end of the war and years, I just, where were all the men? I mean, I see women out on the streets, but, there's 2 or 3 times women and men. I mean, maybe they're working, but retired. Well, you know why. When a war, a few people disappear. Okay. Aha. So, I think you probably know General George Marshall and what the Marshall Plan did for the restoration of Europe. It was absolutely key to not just getting rid of the rubble and rebuilding, but also having European countries, including the old enemy, the Nazi Germany, being the new Germany that'll stand strong against communism. And that there was 13 billion of aid allocated and approved by Congress. 13 billion in today's dollars is what? I don't even know, but it's, multiplied by 5, multiplied by 10, whatever. And it was a lot of money, and it worked. So, National Machinery. National was a beneficiary of the Marshall Plan and the rebuilding of Europe. And we jumped on board with it because we realized that there was a significant market. And we bought, this was mentioned in the earlier film clip, bought a company, J.G. Kaiser, in 1958, the largest German manufacturer of cold forming equipment. Now, there was a picture in the slide or in the video we could go back to that's very charming. But Jacob, in 1958, do you think that factory looked like it did? I don't know how badly bombed the factory was, but the historical picture, which was a sizable factory, isn't going to be what we bought. Hence, we were dedicated to building a new factory in Nuremberg, out Regenberger Strasse. And it was a large building and factory from the start, and then was added on to at least once in a major way. And Square footage, we're about 600,000 square feet in Tiffin. I don't know, it was at least 400, if not maybe 500. Very significant. And it was boom years because of the rebuilding. And Europe needed machine tools, needed cold forming machines, everything. So National prospered, and it was good times. You saw this in the film, the opening, grand opening, dignitaries from Bavaria, and Nuremberg is in Bavaria, Bayern, or if you're more nuanced, Franconia. And 1962, terrific. Let's see what the next, we mentioned it. In just a decade, we built and shipped in Europe 1,000 machines. And, that's the production rate probably in Tiffin. I don't know. We have machines of all different sizes, and obviously the gigantic ones you don't build, by the dozen, smaller ones, but that's a lot of machines. And that's the prosperity that was going on. Endemic of the fact that this was a huge growth market and one that, contributed to the strength of Germany and Europe as it unfolded with the Marshall Plan. So, what else is happening in the European theater or to the east? There happened to be the Soviets, and the Soviets, communists under Stalin, then successors. Khrushchev is a famous name that you all know. There was a huge factory in a small town, not so small now, at 60,000 people, in Bilibey, Bashkortostan region, which is towards the Ural Mountains, not quite in them. This sits 180 kilometers from the town of Ufa by the Urals, and in between that and Stalingrad, actually, which isn't named Stalingrad these days. This is not a small factory itself. I don't know what the square footage of this is exactly, but I have been in it twice. Obviously not, the war years or after the war immediately. The main factory, I think, was built in the late 60s, and some of the add-ons in the back. I think the large building in the back was built, but the building side by side of it probably was never built. But if you look closely, you don't just have a large office complex, but what's this going on right in the lower right-hand corner? In the Soviet economy, things were self-standing. And this is the power plant for this factory. And in one of the buildings in the back is the bakery. It totally self-contained. And the employees came, and I think I have a picture here. These are Soviet employees. They do what we do. They try to take pride in their employees and clap on the hands when they're being productive. We think, over 5,000 people were employed, and when I was able to visit, it was twice. The last visit was 1972, I believe. No, 72, I'm wrong with that, obviously. 2012. I get my twos mixed up here a little bit. It had shrunk to being maybe 2,000 people, simply because of activity. And I think the bakery wasn't anymore. They, had people that made bread and brought it in, and served lunches. So why am I talking about this? Well, there was a rebuilding, obviously, of the Soviet Union under the communist regime. And guess what? Ironically, there are no less than about 100 national machines, maybe more when we count the older machines of National Kaiser in this factory, because they didn't have cold forming technology like the West was, and we were able, out of our German factory, to sell machines. Not out of Tiffin, but Germany was, logistically, obviously logical. And we basically were the supplier of that factory. And did it make armaments? I don't think so, but did it make all sorts of fasteners that went on trucks, cars, tanks, whatever? Yes. And it's a very impressive operation. These pictures are from 2012 on my second visit. And so, things look a little rougher. That's not new. The equipment would have been, new in maybe 1970. It still was a very impressive place. Favorite picture. This is my buddy, Ivan Ivanovich. And there's a little story here. In 1972, I was a summer intern worker in Nuremberg. And I had the honor of painting the boiler room and, filing blueprints and things like that. I wasn't exactly running a machine, but it still was a lot of fun to be there. And the top salesman, SVP, Gunther Bendick, invited people over for a summer picnic, including the Russians that were visiting us at the time in a training session, because they had bought these 100 machines. And there was half a dozen Russians at the picnic. And I struck up a conversation with this gentleman. Now, how the hell did I do that? I don't speak Russian. He doesn't speak English. Karen, it was my bad German. We both talked bad German to each other, but we communicated, and it was fun. And it was just sort of so invigorating that, first of all, I was talking to sort of the enemy, but he was a real person and a nice guy. He was a machine operator, and guess what? Let's see, that was 72. In 2012, I ran into him again. He was the manager of the rebuild facility in Billabay, and somehow we talked enough that we connected that we knew each other from this picnic in Gunther Bendick's backyard in Nuremberg. And we had a picture here. So Ivan Ivanovich, terrific. I mean, I don't know, touching story, at least to me, okay? So what does this all mean about the ups and downs at national? Certainly this was an up. I mean, Germany, we duplicated Tiffin over in Nuremberg. We really did, right? Now you guys were not, you were part of the dismantling of the factory of sorts, but you knew about, a lot of Tiffinites were on duty in Nuremberg for multiple years. I could name some names, you probably could too. It was just, it was expat duty. And the Germans ran the plant ultimately, but the Tiffin folks were advisors throughout in a number of ways. And, it was, I think it was a bit of to be tapped to go to Nuremberg wasn't hardship duty, It was sort of a mark of pride. And, you're not going to a plant in Bangladesh or anything like that. So we really duplicated Tiffin Nuremberg over in Nuremberg, Tiffin National over in Nuremberg, Germany. Okay, so I will leave you with the panel to talk about these two beautiful new factories and how are they today? John Baldy, Larry Baker. Can we go visit our beautiful factory today?
That would be difficult.
What happened?
And well, it ultimately ended with an auction. And Larry and I got the short end of the stick because although we entertained a lot of our German friends in Tiffin when they were, because folks went both ways. I mean, we had, my wife taught preschool here in Tiffin, and she taught several German families in the preschool in those years. So very tight relationships, close relationships, good